I am most proud of the resilience and the power of empathy that was shown by both the staff team and the guests this year, to see how everybody supported each other during uncertain times, knowing that we could get sick ourselves, knowing we had to care for each other. It was the most inspirational year I've ever been part of.
This year I'm most proud of our trainees at Pine Street Inn who have come in, rain or shine, every day during the pandemic to continue our social enterprise and keep feeding our guests and other vulnerable Bostonians.
The employees stepped in and volunteered their time to work in the departments to keep Pine Street Inn working smoothly without interruptions and trying to keep everyone safe.
The thing that I'm most proud about Pine Street over the last year is how our volunteers, even though they've not been able to come in, they've continued to support our operations and our housing efforts by donating items to our tenants and to our guests.
My proudest moment at Pine Street in the last year wasn't a moment so much as it was the sustained efforts over the first couple of months of COVID, when we only knew that this was an incredibly deadly thing and that crowds made it worse, and the staff had to sit with the fear every single day, and they kept coming back, and it will always inspire me.
What I am proud of is the variety of trainings Pine Street has been offered to the staff so they can grow and be more successful within the company. I think this is remarkable. And I am really benefit from it. Yes, thank you.
What I'm most proud of that happened at Pine Street last year is just really how creative our staff were in making sure that our tenants got all the services they needed in a safe way, and that meant, really thinking outside the box and doing things they hadn't done before and collaborating a lot more. And because of that, we now have telehealth supports. We're offering a virtual program for substance use, and we're teaching them how to use technology, and these are things we're hoping to continue.
What makes me most proud of the past year is that the pandemic did not prevent us from fulfilling our mission. Our training program proceeded throughout the entire year, and we did not miss a single meal for any of our guests or customers, and I think that's something to be proud of.
Over this past year, I watched my coworkers at Pine Street Inn work through the most uncertain times, and I want to say thank you. Thank you to the staff for persevering and continuously working through our mission, even when we weren't sure what was ahead. I'm so proud to work with you, and I'm so proud to call you my coworkers.
Thanks to the support that we've received from our community, from our corporate donors, and from individuals, Pine Street Inn was able to continue its mission in providing a safe place for people to stay. Our doors never shut. We served meals every single day. And what I'm most proud of is that we've actually moved people out of the shelter into housing. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for Pine Street. We would not have made it without you.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Callie Crossley, host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley on 89.7 GBH FM. Our show highlights interesting local stories that other media outlets may have overlooked. It's on Sundays from 6 to 7 p.m., and I invite you to check it out. I have been part of Pine Street's fundraising event for many years, but never in this format. A lot has changed during the past year, but there's one thing that hasn't: the importance of the work that Pine Street Inn does every day. In fact, their work has become even more critical during this time. And I'm here to remind you how important you are to the 2,000 women and men who turn to Pine Street every day for shelter and support, but most important, for housing. We are gathered here today because we know that empathy alone won't address the very practical problems of homelessness. It takes steady, programmatic strategies, the kind of concerted effort of Pine Street Inn. Pine Street is not only moving people off the streets and out of shelter into apartments, but also guiding them to independent living through job training programs. Their work has not let up one bit over the past year. In fact, their persistence and perseverance have only increased. The leader who has kept this ship afloat and continues to guide it to its destination is Lindia Downey, President and Executive Director of Pine Street, the woman, the heart, the soul behind this great organization. Lindia, who has shepherded Pine Street's work for over 35 years, is a woman with boundless energy and tremendous integrity. She has worked day and night over the last year to ensure the safety of thousands of vulnerable men and women. Please join me in welcoming Lindia Downey.
Callie, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thanks for being with us once again. I know you've had an incredibly busy year, so I appreciate you making the time to be with us again this morning. I want to welcome all of you to this year's virtual event, something none of us heard of a year ago. Every year this event gives me a chance to look you in the eye and personally thank you for all you've done. You are our most loyal supporter and friends. And it's so nice to see you in person when we do get to see you. And I'm sorry we're not all together this year. But please know that your support and loyalty have literally kept our doors opened and our spirits up through this past year. As you all know, at Pine Street, we deal with emergencies every day. It's part of who we are. But we could never have imagined the magnitude of what we faced this past year. Building the bridge as we walked across it, not quite knowing where it would lead. We had to scramble to find additional space so we could socially distance our guests and shelter. We had to scramble to find masks and personal protective equipment. We had to institute new cleaning protocols. Every single thing we did in shelter had to change. We brought our COVID positive rate, though, down from 36% last spring to 0 this past summer, and we're now hovering right around 1%. But all of this came at a high cost, none of which, as you can imagine, was budgeted for. It's all of you, our supporters, who made this possible and who got us through this past year. Before I go any further, I do have to take a minute to thank our amazing staff. You know, they've been my heroes in my many, many years at Pine Street. But our frontline staff have worked through this entire pandemic. They've come every day, putting their own health at risk to ensure the safety of others. You're my heroes. Our guests and tenants have also shown incredible resiliency while living through this year of uncertainty. For those of us who've been homebound for this past year, it's been pretty awful. But imagine if you didn't even have that. For those of you who are new to what we do at Pine Street, we work to end homelessness every day, pandemic or not. We do this through our street outreach programs, the 4 shelters we run, and the 850 units of housing we operate. We also have 2 job training programs, a catering company called I Cater, which employs homeless people in the business, and a housekeeping training program. We've spent the last decade really focused on expanding our housing and trying to get housing for the people who have been homeless the longest. And it's housing with support services. We've met our goal, thanks to so many of you, of having more housing units than shelter beds. But the other thing we've been focusing on is what would it take to catch people before they even make it to our front door and prevent their homelessness altogether. It's the best outcome we could ask for. We call it our telephone triage program. If you're new to the shelter, we have staff available to talk to you on site, to connect you back to family or friends if that's an option, or to see if there's something else you might need in the short term to help bridge your way out of homelessness. So 365 days a year, we have the honor of working with the men and women who come to us for help and rebuilding their lives. For some people, it really is short term. They're going through a tough time, they need a little bit of help, and they get back on their feet really quickly. For other people, it's a very long journey, and we help them day by day, brick by brick, to bring them out of homelessness. It takes time, it takes resources, and your support is what allows us to do that. I especially want to thank our board this past year who have stood by us through this pandemic, and if it wasn't for them, we would never have been able to really get to the other side of this. So thank you. To our sponsors, you really are the wind beneath our wings. Just to name a few of the folks who stepped up to help us today. Bank of America, our very longtime partners, our ArcLight Capital partners, to Dan Revers, thank you. To the Yawkey Foundation, 30 years Yawkey's been supporting the Pine Street Inn. Advent International, thank you especially for your help this year. To the Bancel Foundation, not only for your generosity, but for your help with vaccines. Bob's Discount Furniture, who's helping us furnish apartments once people leave homelessness. to our great friends in Natixis, to Chris and Laura Mansfield. Chris is a former board member. Ted and Maureen English, goes without saying. Ted has made this event so successful for us. Thank you. To ML and Larry Krakauer, amazing supporters. To Celia Morris, thank you for helping us get the Women's Inn started and for your ongoing support. To David Mugar, very grateful for your help this year. And last but absolutely not least, our dear friend Jean Temple, who is a force, a generous force. So thank you, Jean. I want to take a minute to tell you about what we saw this past year in response to COVID-19. We had many of you step up to help us. We, in fact, created a COVID-19 fund, and we got help with everything from food donations to volunteers, to people coming in to help provide meals and serve meals, to people who made us tens of thousands, literally, of homemade masks. I want to say thank you to each of you, and I want to recognize some of the partners that called us and said, what can we do to help? And that first call came from Liberty Mutual. Thank you to everybody at Liberty, to the Boston Resiliency Fund. Appreciate every bit of your support. Amos and Barbara Hostetter and the Barr Foundation. You are amazing. Thank you. The Klarman family and the Klarman Foundation. Just the most generous and gracious people. To the Patrick McGovern Foundation and Harbor Vest, both of you, we could not have gotten through this year without your support. So, to all of today's sponsors and to all of those who you will see on the screen and hear from this morning and see in your program as well, thank you for being our partners. We really believe you are our partners and you're part of our effort and part of our extended family. We couldn't do it without you. Now I want to acknowledge Acting Mayor Kim Janey, who we look forward to working with, and our very own state representative, Aaron Michaelwitz, who called as soon as the pandemic started and said, what can I do to help? So Aaron, thank you for everything you've done around homelessness in the city of Boston. I do want to mention that the city does have a homeless plan and that we work very closely together and that we work really hard to coordinate our services. And a lot of the elements I've talked about this morning are in that plan, preventing people from becoming homelessness, bridging them quickly out of homelessness, and then helping find and build more affordable housing. We're very grateful to have Mayor Janey with us today and very grateful and looking forward to working with her this year. So please enjoy today's program, including a conversation between an amazing dynamic duo, CNN's John King and GBH FM's Callie Crossley, two amazing journalists with deep Boston ties. And now I want to introduce you to Lewis, one of our tenants who just moved into a new property we recently finished with a private developer on Seaver Street in Dorchester.
You can run all you want, but wherever you go, the problem is going with you. So the only way that you can solve your own problems is to just stay where you're at and do it one day at a time. Youngstown, Ohio, I was born. Lived there for 16 years. Moved to Puerto Rico. Lived there for another 6 years. I turned 21, I went to the military, which I went as a full service specialist, which is a cook, but that's what they call full service specialist. The military actually helped me a lot on cooking. Cooking is kind of interesting once you get into it.
Lewis has been here longer than I've been employed with Pine Street. Just recently, a couple of weeks ago, I did sit down with Lewis and, just really kind of getting information about, what got you to, where you're at right now. And, just being able to hear his story.
I've lived in Virginia, Connecticut, Boston, all these places, because I figure if I move, I wouldn't do drugs no more. But that's not true. After I got out of prison, I was real depressed. It was just a long stretch there. I just got into drugs.
There are a whole lot of issues that are going on with someone who's homeless or going through things, and not having housing or permanent housing really just kind of adds to that. So being able to find housing for them, affordable, safe, and clean housing for that client, is one less thing that they have to worry about.
The hardest moment is when you don't have a set bed. It could be freezing, it could be raining, whatever. and find someplace to stay.
This is 20 Seaver Street. We have 28 single individual units. Each tenant has their own room, which has a bed, refrigerator, microwave, stove, and a nice sized bathroom.
What I like about 20 Seaver is closer to my job. They got security. Staff is there to help you anytime you need them.
There are services here, to make sure that a client is transitioning in well and thriving in housing.
Oh man, you've been laying there in the bed and the ceiling looks wonderful. Those beautiful ceilings. Everything looks really nice.
We have had clients that just, they've been out on the street for years. And just to be able to walk into something that, they're not out in the elements, they're not sharing with anybody. This is yours. This is your environment.
Sasha's been with me 5 years. I found her under a dumpster. I feel like it's home for me. Because I need it. I needed security. I need this in my life right now. It keeps me pointed in the right direction.
Louis did go through the iCater program, and that was kind of like, he's a cook, he likes to cook.
I went to a program that had how to do temperatures, how to cook, how to do the proper procedures through Pine Street.
It is a 12-week program, probably give or take, that you get paid to come in, basically work, learn culinary skills.
And every one of those people in there, every cook, every chef, was there, want you to do better. They're there for you.
After the completion of the program, there's that possibility of them being able to get a job.
I work at Northeastern, a place called Cordoba. It's a Mexican Eats. We make Mexican food, and I'm the head chef there. And I've been there 2.5 years. I'm trying to save money to get my own restaurant. That's what my goal. If you have a restaurant that has American food, Spanish food, even Chinese food, if you know how to cook it, that brings everybody in. And I think that would be a hit.
When you contribute to a building like this, you are making it possible for someone to have a home, to call a home.
I feel like having a home is freedom. Being able to bathe when you want, being able to eat what you want, being able to just sleep where you want, dress how you want. It's just freedom, totally, mentally.
There's just such a reward and such a good feeling knowing that there might be someone who feels that they can't do it or the odds are against them. And I guess I'm just here to say, no, it's not. You can do it.
I appreciate everything that Pine Street, I appreciate everything they did for me because every one of them had a hand in saving my life. And I want to thank them. And every time I get a chance to give back, that's why I'm sitting in this chair now. There she goes. I told you. She said we're taking too long. She said we're taking too long.
Hi everyone. I'm Father John Ooney, pastor of St. Cecilia Parish, Boston, and longtime board member of the Pine Street Inn. Louis, thank you. Wow, that was an inspiring video. Thank you for sharing your story. The Pine Street Inn holds so many stories. And today, I'm here to ask for your support for Louis and for others like him with their own stories, and to ask for one of the great institutions of Boston, the Pine Street Inn, a place that has literally saved lives for over 50 years. Right now, I'm offering us the chance to do something special. Today is the day that we all get to transform lives. This is our chance to offer housing, security, and community to deserving women and men who have hit life in a hard way, and life has hit them in a hard way. Pine Street provides immediate comfort and security through a nutritious meal, a clean shelter bed, and beyond that, and most importantly, a key to a permanent place to live. Stuff that we all take for granted. Our good friend, Ted English, chairman of Bob's Discount Furniture, has pledged $50,000 as a challenge grant to help Pine Street raise critically important funds this morning. Thank you, Ted, for your generosity and for your support. So I'm asking all of us to consider making the most generous gift that we possibly can to help us meet that challenge. On your screen, you'll see a donate button. Please click that button and help us meet the challenge and raise $100,000 today. The power to transform lives is in our hands. Isn't that what life's about? To help one another and to transform the life of another. At the same time, we're transformed. Every dollar is critical. Whether you give $5,000, $500, or $50, today it's important. It's important for a home, for food, for beds, for training, for counseling. Again, all those things that we take for granted. And here's how your support makes a difference. $5,000 provides a week's worth of meals. That's 17,000 meals for our guests and tenants. $1,000 supplies our outreach teams with a week's worth of food, week's worth of supplies for those who are currently on the streets. $500 provides hands-on instruction and employment coaching for a job trainee. And $250 provides a week of emergency shelter services for a guest. In other words, a safe place to stay with nutritious meals, a warm shower, a clean bed, and counseling services. So on behalf of the women and men whose lives will change because of you and your generosity, I say thank you.
Good morning. I'm Mihal Chamberlain, President of Massachusetts for Bank of America. I'm honored to join you this morning, albeit virtually. Pine Street Inn is a long-standing partner, and at Bank of America, we share their commitment to ending homelessness and supporting the most vulnerable members of our community. This past year, dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic has been an especially challenging test for those facing homelessness or housing instability. Despite extraordinary conditions, Pine Street Inn maintained the highest level of care and compassion for their guests, and their staff worked tirelessly to protect the health and safety of everyone who walked through their doors. We are proud to play a small role in supporting their mission, not only with financial support, but through donations of PPE, including masks and hand sanitizer as well. On behalf of all of my colleagues at Bank of America, I want to thank Pine Street Inn for everything you do for the greater Boston region. Thank you and enjoy the event.
Hello, my name is Kim Janey and I'm Mayor of the City of Boston. Welcome to Pine Street Inn's Home Remedy event. This virtual gathering has been brought together by Boston's corporate, civic, and nonprofit leaders with a common goal to end homelessness. This past year has brought challenges none of us could have imagined. The need for Pine Street Inn's work has never been greater. Your support for Home Remedy raises critical funds to help residents of Boston with housing, shelter, outreach, and job training. I appreciate all you do to keep Pine Street Inn strong for our most vulnerable neighbors. Your continued support lets the staff, guests, and tenants know that our community truly cares. On behalf of the people of Boston, thank you for your support.
Hello, I'm Pat Jones, board chair of this great organization. On the board's behalf, I thank and express deep gratitude to all who have joined us here today. Though we can't be together, we know that you stand with us, with Pine Street, and that you have our backs. Your interest and your support, particularly in these past few months, has been nothing short of incredible and overwhelming. We look forward to a time when we can gather in person. We'll celebrate the amazing work that Lindia and the entire staff at Pine Street are doing every day in housing and shelter, in education and training, in finance advancement, and in operations. The Inn faced enormous challenges this year. We all did, but none of us more so than the homeless, our most vulnerable citizens. With your support and the great work of staff at all levels, guests and tenants were kept safe and healthy. Our shelter guests continue to move into housing and continue to learn the skills they need to succeed at what so many of us take for granted, living with health and with a permanent roof over our heads. And so on behalf of everyone at Pine Street, I express our enormous gratitude.
Good morning. I'm Melissa MacDonnell, President of the Liberty Mutual Foundation. On behalf of all of us at Liberty Mutual, I want to thank the entire team at Pine Street Inn, and especially the frontline staff for your heroic work during COVID-19, keeping our shelters open, offering meals for our neighbors who were hungry, traveling alongside people who were scared and alone and vulnerable. You stepped out with compassion and competence to protect people in harm's way. You're heroes on an easy day, miracle workers on a tough one. On behalf of all of us at Liberty Mutual, I thank you.
Natixis Investment Managers is excited to reinforce our commitment and partnership to the Pine Street Inn. Home Remedy is the perfect opportunity to honor and celebrate the individuals and staff at the organization who have worked tirelessly to help support Boston's most vulnerable men and women. We are honored and excited to be partners with such an amazing organization.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Gergen, a neighbor from across the river. For the past 20 years, my wife Ann and I have grown and come to really support strongly the Pine Street Inn. It's one of Boston's great institutions. We have so many. We were especially pleased to be here for the 50th anniversary of the Pine Street Inn, and we like to remember it in our own way over here. Just think about it, 50 years they've been at this. In the next 50 years, they'll be better still. You just count my word. One of the wonderful things about Boston is how loyal the native sons and daughters are to this city. One of them especially is John King. He is a friend and a colleague from CNN. We've known each other for years. John King has been, he's got a stunning record. He's covered 9 presidential elections, reported from every state in the union, and indeed has reported from over 70 countries over the years. I always rely on him not only for his insights, but he's such a trusted figure. I know I can count on what he says, and I can take it to the bank. John has a weekday television program he anchors on Inside Politics at noon on weekdays. And on Sundays, he's on at 8 a.m. Think of the loyalty that requires to be there sharp at 8 a.m. But there he is, and John King is going to join us momentarily. In the meantime, let me say a word about Callie Crosley. I don't know Callie, but I do know her obviously by reputation. She's a fixture at WGBH. She has her own program there. She has her own anchor Under the Radar with Callie Crosley, and she is here today to be with John King. So let us all celebrate. We have such fine figures, and especially the time to celebrate and appreciate the Pine Street Inn 50 years later. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. Welcome, John King of CNN. Glad to talk to you.
Thanks for letting me come home in this virtual way to come home. It's great
I know, it's great. Little bit different format. We'd rather have you in person, but this will do. Let's talk about this 4-year spike in homelessness across the U.S. It's pretty grim, obviously going in the wrong direction. What's your sense of how people in Washington are looking at that, particularly in the context of COVID?
Well, I think the COVID point it's an excellent one, sadly, to make, because this was a crisis anyway, and then you put a pandemic on top of it, and you add a healthcare disparity, healthcare remoteness, just healthcare communications challenge, healthcare resource challenge on top of what is already a housing and homelessness crisis. I see it here in Washington. I know from my friends still there in Boston, they speak of it, but it's everywhere in America. It's not just in urban America either. So you mentioned what is the take in Washington? I think that is the challenge of the moment, in that we have a new administration. We have a new administration after 4 years of administration that frankly did not tend to the garden of government, did not really care about government, repeatedly attacked government. Now you have an administration that says government can be the answer and should be the answer for many social problems, including this one, housing and homelessness, and again, with the pandemic on top of it. So I think this is a defining challenge for the new president and his team, for the new housing secretary, former Congresswoman Fudge, who comes into the job with great stature in Congress. They now have money. They now have resources, whether it's the Pine Street Inn or whether it's community groups all around America who are trying to address this challenge. One of the fundamental questions always has been resources. Can we have more resources? So there are resources coming to bear now, billions of dollars in the relief plan just passed. If the president can get his infrastructure plan through, billions more for housing, for homelessness, for public housing, for a whole mix of programs. And so I think the challenge before us, Callie, for people in this community is now that there will be some resources. There will always be people who say maybe not enough, but now that there will be significant resources, can everybody, from the president and his cabinet to the community organizations, the people with the leather on the street, if you will, prove, give us a chance, give us more resources, and we can deal with this problem. It is a giant test of governance right now.
John, I think a lot of people don't have a sense of who is homeless. Do you have a sense from the lawmakers that they understand that the image that some may have of older persons, adults, is correct in some sense, but there are a lot of young people who are also homeless?
I think sadly, at least from a congressional Washington perspective, the answer to your question is no, they do not have a full perspective. They do not, they have not maybe lived or seen the evolution of this. Part of it is because some politicians are more myopic, if you will. And I don't even mean that as a criticism. They just focus on their constituents, their homes. And if you come from a rural area, maybe this is not as big a problem. It's still a problem, but maybe the scope and the scale of it is not as big. I think, frankly, it's one of the issues that people are reluctant to talk about, because it is an American failure. And politicians don't like to talk about failures, whether you're a mayor or a governor or a member of Congress. So I think a big piece of this could be some education. Now that there is more attention, you have an administration paying more attention to it. Most of the resources should be put to the street level, to be help people, get people who need a help, if people need shelter, need help getting into housing, rental assistance. There's a lot of resources for there. But just like we're educating people now about the COVID vaccines, why it's important, educating people why you still need to wear a mask if you're in a setting with other people. I think there's an opportunity here, I think, to educate people that this is everybody. This is young people, this is veterans, this is men, this is women, it is young, it is old, it is white, it is black, it is brown, and it's everywhere in America. It may be different, the challenges may be a little different in different places, but people too often, human beings, all of us do this in our lives too. Sometimes you just want to put on blinders. You see that person on the street corner and you think, not today, I have too much stress in my life. Hopefully there's a moment of reflection. Hopefully we've learned from the pandemic how interconnected we are and how much we need one another. And maybe there could be a little bit more education, but I think sadly you do start from a baseline of people not understanding the evolution, the evolving scope of the problem.
So the person in charge of this issue mostly is going to be the Secretary of Health and Urban Development, Secretary Marcia Fudge. And I wonder if she's already said that HUD exists, in her opinion, to cope with the most vulnerable people, and that her focus is going to be on housing, affordable housing eventually, but really just getting people into housing. She's pledged $5 million from the American Rescue Plan. How do you see that being responded to? This is a department that's been devastated. They've lost a lot of staff. And as you know, her predecessor, Ben Carson, was all about cutting the budget.
Right, that philosophical change, both from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, and from Secretary Carson to Secretary Fudge, I think is just dramatic. It is literally night and day. There's a 180-degree shift. They are almost polar opposites. Congresswoman Fudge also has something that's very important, which is a lot of very powerful friends in Congress. She was a leading member of the Black Caucus, a leading member of Nancy Pelosi's team, so maybe a little bit stranger on the Senate side, but among House Democrats, if she raises her hand and says, I need your help. And I don't just mean financially. In the next bill, I need this money. But to the education point you made earlier, to the implementation of these programs, to the transparency of these programs, and yes, to fixing things when some people will make mistakes with the best of intentions. You're getting a lot more resources and money. You want to throw it at the problem as quickly as you can. Not everything's going to go perfectly. That's called human nature. She now has deputies, if you will, her former friends and colleagues in the Congress, who when they go home to Boston, when they go home to Cleveland, when they go home to Los Angeles, when they go home to rural areas in America too, can report back to her. Because of the relationship, I think she has extra eyes and ears, if you will. The Biden team does have to staff up a government. It's not just housing and urban development that was neglected by the Trump administration. So we're approaching the 100-day mark now. They're in office, they're in power, they are accountable, and they should be judged every day by what they do. I think, to be fair, we should have a 100-day report card, a 200-day report card, and watch as they ramp up if they can deliver. Again, the Biden campaign was, Trump doesn't get government, I do. Trump doesn't have competent people, I will bring you competent people. Trump won't admit when he's wrong, I will. So Biden said he would be honest, open, transparent, and he would be a Democrat who used the levers of government where he thinks they can help. That is their test. And in Secretary Fudge, he has a very important, very strong, very powerful ally. She has her own base beyond the president.
As you know, we have a impending mayoral contest here, one that's really interesting because we lost our mayor to Washington, Marty Walsh. He's Labor Secretary now. So as an original from Dorchester, What's your take on the mayoral contest here in Massachusetts?
Let me give you two quick takes. One, on the contest itself, I'm fascinated by it. So now you have an acting mayor. In my lifetime, let me just be honest, I grew up, I went to Boston Latin School, but my first year at Boston Latin School was the first year of forced busing. In my lifetime, did I think Boston we have an African-American, Suffolk district attorney now. We have an African-American congresswoman in Congresswoman Presley. Now we have an African-American woman as the acting mayor of Boston. As a kid in Dorchester, I didn't think that was going to happen in my lifetime. So that's amazing. It's just amazing. I'm not taking sides. I don't get to endorse politicians, but just the fact that you've had such rapid change in the diversity of who represents the city and the area, I think is fantastic. What's going to happen in this mayoral race? I have no idea. I will tell you that I hope we're coming out of the COVID tunnel so that I can come home more and watch it because I just think it's great. The OFD mayor is now, as you mentioned, the labor secretary. My second take would be to the point you just made about Secretary Fudge and about the administration. I think one of the reasons this will be different when it comes to issues like housing is not only is Secretary Fudge engaged, but you have a mayor at the Labor Department who maybe can help and cooperate with some programs. The Mayor Walsh, now Secretary Walsh has dealt with this. You have people like the new Energy Secretary, Governor Jennifer Granholm, who has dealt with this. So the Biden team that is in, Mayor Buttigieg is now the Transportation Secretary. So you have other people on the Biden team who may not be directly in the housing portfolio, if you will, the homelessness portfolio, if you will, but they are trying to make the pieces of government connect and work together. And I think their own experience in their cities and states should, let's watch what they do, but should help with the challenge.
Is there a policy that initiative that we should be keeping our eye on that's coming up that can impact what you've just said?
Well, I would watch the infrastructure bill in the sense that, they're in the Relief Act that just passed a short time ago, the COVID Relief Act, there are billions of dollars to address the housing challenge. And I know all of the groups think that is welcome, but that's to put out the fire, if you will. So the challenge on all of these big issues, can you be the fire department and an architect at the same time? By that, I mean, deal with your problems of today. There's a crisis in the streets. There are people who need help today. But then can you also have somebody whose job is not to put out the fire, but to think about next month, next year, next decade? If they get the infrastructure bill, then you're talking about maybe $200 billion in a housing portfolio to construct new public housing, to deal with new things. So can you look down here and deal with the fire and then have somebody who's looking up here, if even there's no guarantee they get all of that money, but if they get a good chunk of that money, I think that's what I would watch, because people right now have to deal with a crisis. Can you plan a longer term future to a better place? The infrastructure bill could provide some resources there.
Thank you so much for joining us, John King.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Kelly. Thank you for your time, and thanks, everybody. Take care.
Okay. And thank you all for joining us for this conversation this morning.
Hi, folks. I'm back again. I'm back to ask one more time for your support. You've just seen an amazing program. You've heard from Lewis, a tenant. You've heard from a staff person at Pine Street. This is the heart of Pine Street. You've also heard from John King and Callie Crossley, a couple of media folks who have their fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the world today. Our staff, our guests and tenants every day rise to meet life's challenges. And those challenges are oftentimes beyond belief. So I hope you'll rise to the challenge today and help each of us meet the match to raise $100,000 in the closing minutes of Home Remedy. Pine Street Inn, it does remarkable work. Where would the city be without them? But we need your support. We need your support to keep it going. So please, press the donate button on your screen, give whatever you're able to give, because it all makes a difference. Thank you so very much.
Hello, my name is Kurt Pappalardo, Director of Commercial Sales for Bob's Discount Furniture. Since 2017, Bob's has been fortunate enough to partner with the Pine Street Inn team and their Moving On program, in which time we have moved more than 50 tenants into permanent homes. It has truly been a privilege and an honor to work with such a tremendous program. So on behalf of everyone here at Bob's Discount Furniture, I would like to say thank you, and we look forward to this continued partnership for many more years to come.
hope you feel, as I do, inspired by the presentations we've seen and heard this morning. Too many people still think Pine Street just offers a meal and a safe place to sleep. But we really do aim much higher. We want to move men and women off the streets, out of shelter, and into the stability and safety of a home of their own. As we look ahead, we're going to be focused on housing, housing, housing. We've opened several new locations even during this pandemic. We have a couple of very big major projects coming up. One in Jamaica Plain with 140 units that we're building with our great partner, the Community Builders, and another with potentially 100 units at the old YWCA building on Clarendon Street with Beacon Companies. This, by the way, is how we'll end homelessness, folks, and we couldn't do it without your help. I encourage you to keep in touch with us. Check out Pine Street's social media, our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. We're on LinkedIn as well. Please go to the website if you want more information, pinestreetin.org, to learn more about our programs. And if you're interested in getting more involved, right now we're doing a lot of virtual opportunities, but we're very much looking forward to seeing our volunteers come back soon, I hope. Here's hoping we'll all be together in person for this event next year. We have a date, April 27th at the Westin Copley. In the meantime, please reach out to me personally if you'd like to hear more about what we're up to. So grateful to all of you for being with us this morning. Take care and see you all soon.